Jack Tracer stood alone in the middle of a dusty alien market. His ship was out of fuel, his stomach was empty, and he had only one thing left to trade: an old bottle of Earth's whiskey. It was a gift from his grandfather, sealed and aged in oak. But now, survival was more important than memories. The marketplace buzzed with strange sounds and colors. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past him. Some floating, others slithering, some with eyes all over their heads. Jack felt small, dirty, and out of place. His boots were worn, his jacket torn, but his heart still beat with stubborn hope. He walked to a trading post, glowing with soft blue light. An alien with 3 arms and a horned face looked up, sniffed the air, then looked back. Down at his screen, "No credits, no fuel," the alien grunted. "I have whiskey," Jack said. Pulling the glass bottle from his coat carefully, the alien didn't even look up. Not interested, Jack sighed and turned away. He wandered deeper into the market, until a strange scent caught his nose, a mix of flowers and fire. He turned his head and saw her, a tall, elegant alien woman in a silver robe, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight, and her eyes deep as galaxies. She walked gracefully toward him, her steps silent, her gaze focused. "You carry fire in a bottle," she said, in a voice like music. Jack blinked, unsure if she was talking to him. "Yes." "Ah, it's whiskey," he said, holding it up again. She reached out with long fingers and gently touched the glass. "In my world, this is sacred," she whispered, "only given by warriors." "Or husbands," Jack laughed awkwardly. "Well, I'm no warrior, and definitely not a husband." She smiled, but there was something behind it, something unreadable. "I am Lady Thrala," she said, "stepmother to 3 royal daughters of the Moon House." Jack raised a brow. "Okay. And what would you offer for this?" She tilted her head and said, "A trade of life for life." Before Jack could ask what that meant, she clapped her hands. Guards appeared out of nowhere, tall, armored aliens with curved blades. Jack froze. As the whiskey bottle was taken gently from his hands and placed in a crystal box, he tried to protest, but Lady Thrala waved her hand, and everything around him began to blur. Colors twisted, gravity shifted, and the ground vanished beneath his feet. He woke up lying on a bed made of glowing silk. The room was warm, luxurious, and smelled of something sweet and strange. A voice spoke softly, "He wakes." Jack sat up quickly and saw her again, Lady Thrala, standing with 3 young women. Behind her, each one beautiful in an alien way. One had silver hair and blue skin. Another had glowing tattoos across her arms. The third had eyes that sparkled like stars. Lady Thrala spoke gently. "You made the trade, Jack Tracer, and now you are bound by moon law." "What law?" Jack asked. Confused, she stepped closer and smiled. "By offering sacred liquid to the House of the Moon, you have accepted a bond." Jack looked at the 3 daughters, who were now smiling sweetly. "You are now a husband to all 3. Jack jumped off the bed. "What? No, 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 this has to be a mistake." The daughters giggled softly, moving closer, surrounding him with curiosity and affection. Lady Thrala did not laugh. "The bottle you carried was part of a prophecy," she said, "only a human bearing. Fire could awaken the pact." Jack's head spun. "This is insane. Just wanted some fuel." "You will be given anything you need," she said, "in return. You must not break their hearts." He backed away, bumping into a wall that suddenly shimmered and disappeared, revealing a massive window outside. The alien moon floated in the sky, its cities lit by strange stars and floating ships. "You now belong to the Moon House," Lady Thrala said. "And the Moon House belongs to you." Jack stared out the window, his heart racing. He came to sell a bottle of whiskey. Now he had 3 alien wives, a stepmother queen, and no idea how to escape. But deep inside the bottle now stored in the palace vaults, something ancient stirred. And this was only the beginning. Jack stood still in front of the giant golden doors. They slowly opened on their own, revealing a palace so strange and beautiful that it didn't feel real. The walls shimmered with soft blue light. The floors were made of smooth crystal. And the ceiling looked like a sky full of stars. Alien servants bowed as he walked in, whispering words he didn't understand. He didn't want to move. But two gentle hands pushed him forward. It was one of the daughters, the one with silver hair and glowing eyes. "Come," she said sweetly. "Our home is now your home." Jack followed her through twisting halls filled with alien paintings and floating plants. They passed rooms filled with music that played itself, and mirrors that showed different places in time. Finally, they reached a wide chamber with a round bed in the center and a table full of glowing fruits. Lady Thrala was already waiting for him, her hands folded behind her back. "You have entered the House of the Moon fully," she said calmly. "You must now know the truth." Jack crossed his arms. "I think I already heard too much truth." "Like how I'm suddenly married to 3 alien daughters because of a whiskey bottle." Lady Thrala smiled. "You speak with humor, but this bond is real." She raised one hand, and the 3 daughters stepped forward. The first was Lunari, the silver-haired one, tall and graceful, with skin that sparkled like moon dust. The second was Zephyra, her body covered in glowing symbols, her voice quiet but full of strength. The third was Nixa, shorter than the others, with bright golden eyes and wild laughter in her voice. Jack looked at them, unsure whether to feel fear, confusion, or something else. Lunari stepped closer. "We have waited for someone like you," Zephyra added. "The bottle you carried was not just whiskey." Nixa grinned. "It was a sign, a key to unlock our future." Jack backed away. "Hold on, what future? I didn't ask for any of this." Lady Thrala walked toward him slowly. "Long ago, a promise was made between our people and yours. A human would come bearing the drink of fire. And when he traded it willingly, he would become part of our bloodline." Jack laughed nervously. "Well, I didn't agree to be part of anyone's bloodline." Lady Thrala raised an eyebrow. "But you made the trade." He pointed at the door. "That was survival, not marriage." Zephyra looked at him with soft eyes. "Do you really think the Moon House traps people against their will?" Jack opened his mouth, then closed it. Unsure what to say, Nixa jumped in. "If you really want to leave, we won't stop you." He blinked. "Wait, really?" Lady Thrala nodded. "You may leave, but you cannot take the bottle with you. And you must never return." For a moment, silence filled the room. The idea of escaping was tempting, going back to his broken ship, wandering again, alone, but something tugged at him from deep inside, something warm and confusing. These women didn't look like prisoners, and neither did he. He looked at Lunari, who was watching him quietly, like she could see inside his mind. "What happens if I stay?" He asked slowly. "You live here," she said softly, "and we learn from you, as you learn from us," Zephyra added. "You help us understand your world, and we protect you in ours." Nixa leaned in. "And you get 3 wives who think you're cute." Jack gave a half smile. "That's not the worst offer I've ever had." Lady Thrala motioned toward the bed. "Rest, Jack Tracer. Tomorrow the bonding begins." He sat down, still unsure if this was a dream or a trap. Outside the window, the moon's twin suns began to rise, lighting up the crystal towers. Jack laid back, staring at the ceiling of stars. In one day, his whole life had changed. No fuel, no credits, but now, 3 daughters calling him husband. He was just a trader, a drifter with nothing but a bottle and a bad sense of timing. But the palace didn't feel cold or dangerous. It felt like it had been waiting for him, just like the daughters said. Suddenly, the ground rumbled, just a little, but enough for Jack to notice. The ceiling lights flickered, and a strange sound echoed from far below. He sat up, heart racing. Was that an earthquake? He asked. Lunari looked toward the window with a serious expression. No, she said slowly. That was something else. Zephora stepped closer. The moon is reacting. Nixa whispered. It knows you're here. Jack stood up. What? Does that mean? Lady Thrala answered without blinking. It means your arrival has awakened something deep inside the moon. Something ancient, something hidden, and it is watching you now, husband of the moon house. Jack woke to the sound of bells, soft, distant, and echoing through the crystal walls of his chamber. The air smelled like flowers and smoke, and strange lights floated in the corners of the room. He sat up, his heart still heavy from the strange tremor he had felt the night before, whatever shook the moon. It was still in his mind, but now something else waited, something called the bonding. The three daughters entered the room, dressed in glowing white robes, their hair braided with tiny orbs of light. Their faces calm but serious. Zephora stepped forward first, her voice soft. Today, we begin the Moonlink ceremony, Nixa added with a smirk. Don't worry, you won't be eaten. Lunari only watched him, eyes unreadable. She was guarding a secret. Jack stood slowly. What does the bonding actually do? Lady Thrala appeared behind them, walking with elegance, her robe trailing like mist. It joins spirit to spirit, she said. It binds your essence to this moon, to my daughters, and to what lies beneath. Jack frowned. What lies beneath? Thrala paused, old power, waiting to wake, before Jack could ask more. The daughters took his hands and led him through a long corridor filled with floating symbols. Each step lit up beneath their feet, like the moon was aware of their movement. They entered a wide chamber surrounded by glowing pools of liquid crystal. In the center was a platform carved with ancient runes and glowing lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. The bond begins here, Lunari said softly. Jack looked around. You're serious about this soul-binding thing? Zephora nodded. It's not just ceremony, it's connection, trust, protection. Nixa grinned. And maybe a little magic? Jack stepped onto the platform, unsure of what to expect. The daughters joined him, forming a circle. Lady Thrala stood outside the ring, raising both hands. She began chanting in a language Jack couldn't understand, but somehow felt deep inside his chest. The platform glowed brighter, rising slowly into the air. The light wrapped around them, warm and soft, like a blanket of memories. Jack saw flashes in his mind. Lunar, standing under a sky of 3 moons. Zephora, painting glowing symbols on walls. Nixa dancing with laughter through fields of silver grass. And then he saw something else. Darkness, deep below the surface of the moon. A heartbeat, slow and heavy, echoing across time. The light flickered, and Jack staggered. Breaking the circle for a moment, the platform shook. The daughters gasped, and Lady Thrala's chant stopped. A loud boom echoed through the chamber, and cracks formed in the glowing pools. Zephora steadied Jack. You must not break the circle. I saw something, Jack said, breathless. Something alive, under us. Thrala lowered her hands, her face pale. The moon feels you? Jack Trazer, she said. It remembers the old blood. Lunari turned to him. You are not the first human to walk here, but you may be the last. Jack blinked. What does that mean? Nixa looked serious for the first time. There was another, long ago. Who bonded with the moon house? Zephora whispered. He opened something that should have stayed closed. The chamber dimmed, the glowing pools now calm again. Lady Thrala stepped forward. The bond must be completed before the moon stirs again, or we will all be swallowed. Jack nodded slowly, though his mind was spinning. He didn't come here to be a hero or a husband or part of a prophecy. He came with nothing but a bottle of whiskey, and yet the moon had other plans. The daughters joined hands with him again, and the platform rose once more. This time, Jack focused. Breathing with the rhythm of the light, he closed his eyes, letting the energy flowed through him. He saw his past, his broken ship, lost dreams. Lonely nights drifting through stars, he felt the warmth of the daughters' memories, Lunari's sadness, Zephyr's curiosity, Nyx's joy, and beneath it all, a thread pulling them together. The moon trembled again. But this time, it was soft. Like a sigh, the bond was complete. The light faded, and the platform gently lowered to the ground. Jack opened his eyes and saw the daughters smiling. They weren't strangers anymore. Lady Thrala stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "The moon accepts you," she said, "but it is not finished." A deep rumble echoed once more through the chamber floor. This time, it didn't stop. Far below, something shifted. Something ancient was waking, and it had been waiting for him. The moon wouldn't stop rumbling, not even after the bonding was done. Jack stood in the silent chamber with the daughters, the lights dim now, flickering like candles in the wind. Lady Thrala had vanished without a word, and the strange calm that once wrapped the palace was gone. Zephyra knelt down and touched the glowing floor, her eyes widening. The source. "It's no longer asleep," she whispered. Nyxa leaned closer to Jack and whispered, "You really shook something loose down there." Lunari stared ahead, her voice soft. "The Forbidden Core is calling." Jack frowned. "What's the Forbidden Core?" No one answered him, not directly. Instead, the floor opened with a sudden hiss, revealing a staircase made of black glass spiraling downward into darkness. "Don't go down there," Zephora said quietly. Not alone, but Jack was already stepping toward it, drawn by something he didn't understand. A hum echoed in his bones, a song without words, pulling him deeper with each step. The air grew colder as he descended. Walls turned rough and ancient, covered in symbols and strange carvings of humans and aliens standing side by side. Some showed fire being exchanged. Others showed stars falling from the sky. Jack touched one carving and felt warmth through the stone like it recognized him. At the bottom of the stairs, he reached a massive circular door. It had no handle, no lock, just a flat surface of dark metal with a single round indentation. Jack reached into his coat and pulled out the broken cork from the whiskey bottle. The only thing he had left. It was a wild thought, but he pressed the cork into the center of the door. With a loud click, the door melted away. Beyond it was a hidden chamber, silent, untouched for centuries. Blue light shined from ancient machines, and in the center stood a tall pillar wrapped in metal vines. Inside the pillar floated a glowing cube, pulsing gently like a living heart. Jack stepped closer, and as he did, the machines came to life. A voice echoed from the walls, deep and mechanical, yet somehow human. Identity confirmed: tracer, lineage, Earth ambassador, first class. Jack blinked. Ambassador? That can't be right. The cube rose higher, and a hologram appeared before him. It was an old man, gray hair, kind eyes, a worn leather jacket just like Jack's. "My name is Elias Tracer," the recording said. "If you're hearing this, you're my descendant." Jack's mouth dropped open. The hologram continued. "Long ago, Earth formed an alliance with the moon. House, a powerful family that kept peace in this system. We shared knowledge, culture, and something more, a blood." Jack watched as images of humans and aliens working together filled the air. "But something went wrong," Elia said. "A faction tried to steal what we built, and I had to hide the core." Elias looked straight into Jack's eyes. "If you found this, the core knows you, and it's waking again. It will give you the power to protect this place, but it comes with a price." The image faded, leaving Jack with more questions than answers. Footsteps echoed behind him, and Lunari appeared. Her expression unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," she said, but her voice held no anger. Only worry. Jack turned toward her. "Your people knew about the Earth Alliance, didn't they?" She nodded slowly. "Only a few of us." The truth was hidden long ago. Jack stepped toward the cube. "This thing? This core. What does it do?" Lunari hesitated, then said, "It controls the moon's heart-hit systems. Its defense, even its movement through space, was meant to be shared by bonded bloodlines. And now that I'm bonded," Jack said, "it's mine," before Lunari could stop him. Jack reached out and touched the cube. The world exploded in light. Images, data, maps, and memories rushed through him. He saw the moon as a ship, a city, and a sanctuary. He felt its pain, its strength, its long wait for someone like him, and then darkness, a flash of metal teeth, a signal pulsing in space, enemies watching from the void beyond stars. Jack pulled back, gasping. Lunari caught him before he fell. "What did you see?" She whispered. Jack looked into her eyes. "They're coming." "Who?" "The ones who tried to steal it before," Jack said, breathless. "And they're coming back." A loud alarm echoed through the walls, deep and urgent. The forbidden core chamber lit up in red, far above, in the palace skies. Defense systems came online for the first time in centuries. Jack stood tall, eyes burning with new knowledge. He wasn't just a drifter anymore. He was part of the moon now, and he had to protect it. The sky above the moon palace turned crimson as old systems powered on. Towers that had slept for centuries came alive, shields buzzing with energy. Jack stood in the chamber of the forbidden core, his body still shaking from what he had seen. He wasn't just some lucky merchant. He was something more. Lunari held his arm as the floor beneath them glowed softly. "The core has accepted you," she said quietly. "That hasn't happened since your ancestor." "Elias Tracer," Jack replied, still trying to believe it. "He was the ambassador," Lunari said, "and the last human to walk these halls." With the moon's trust, as they stepped out of the hidden chamber, they were greeted by Lady Thrala and the other daughters. Zephyra's face was pale. "The core signal reached every corner of the system," Nixa added with concern. "If they're still watching, they'll know you've awakened it." Jack looked around, confused. "Who are they?" Lady Thrala's eyes narrowed. "A broken faction of the old alliance. Those who wanted to own the moon's power instead of protect it. They betrayed your grandfather," she added, "and tried to claim the core by force." Jack clenched his jaw. "So they're still out there?" Zephyra nodded. "We never knew if they were gone. Only silent. And now we've given them a reason to speak again," Nixa muttered. They returned to the upper palace, now transformed. The once quiet halls now echoed with alarms and flickers of light. Ancient holograms hovered in the air, showing star maps, alert signals, and one blinking red dot approaching fast. Jack stared at the screen. "Is that a ship?" "Yes," Lunari answered. "And it's headed this way." Lady Thrala motioned for them all to follow her. They entered a room Jack hadn't seen before. It was circular, with high glass windows showing the moonscape beyond. In the center was a large seat made of metal and crystal, shaped like a throne, but humming like a machine. "This," Thrala said, "was built for your bloodline. Elias Tracer had used it once, and only once. It connects you to the entire moon. If you sit here, you will see everything the moon sees, feel everything it feels. Command it, control it." Jack stared at it, not wanting it, but knowing he had no choice. He took a breath and stepped forward. The moment he sat down, everything changed. He was no longer just Jack. He was the memory of Elias. He was the old agreement between Earth and the Moon House. He was the whisper of a bottle of whiskey traded in peace, and he was the shield standing between the moon and whatever approached it now. Holograms flooded his vision. He saw Earth as it once was, proud and powerful. He saw old spaceports, alien, families mingling with humans, and a council of voices long forgotten. Then he saw betrayal, war, and the silence that followed. Lunari placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. Zephyra adjusted the defense grids. Nixa pulled up communications. The signal from that ship. She said, "It's encrypted, but I think I can break it." Jack closed his eyes and spoke softly. The moon was a promise. Lady Thrala nodded slowly. "And promises must be protected." A voice echoed from the Cums metallic, sharp. "Full of poison, this is Commander Vex of the Voidborn fleet." It hissed, "Surrender the core, or be destroyed." Jack stared at the screen. "Vex," he whispered. That name had been in Elias's memories. He was the one who betrayed the humans. He had once stood beside the Tracers and then turned against them. Nixa cracked the code and projected his image. A tall alien with pale armor, eyes glowing red, and a smirk that chilled the room. "Well?" Vex sneered. The new Tracer looked softer than the last one. Jack stood from the chair, eyes hard. "I may be soft," he said, "but this moon is harder than anything you've ever faced." The daughter stood beside him. 3 lights, 3 strengths. They weren't just his wives. They were his allies, his family, and they would fight with him. Lady Thrala stepped forward. Her voice calm but strong. "You have awakened more." Then the core. "Jack Tracer, you've awakened the legacy of the Moon House." Zephyra activated the ancient defense cannons. Lunari locked the shield grids around the palace. Nixa uploaded counter-jamming pulses through the void, and Jack placed the old cork back in his pocket, not as a merchant, but as a commander. He looked at the stars and said, "Let them come." The moon was ready. The legacy was alive, and Jack was no longer just a traitor with a bottle. He was the last voice of an old alliance, and he was done running. The Voidborn fleet entered orbit like a storm of shadows. Hundreds of ships with spiked hulls and red glowing engines surrounded the moon in silence. They made no sound, no threat, only presence, and yet their message was clear. They had come to take what Jack had awakened. Inside the Moon Palace, the walls pulsed with energy. The daughters worked without pause, guiding ancient systems that had not been used for generations. Lunari stood before a star map, tracking every Voidborn ship in real time. Zephyra controlled the defense towers, her fingers moving like lightning over the glowing console. Nixa sprinted through the control chamber, rerouting power from the lower levels to the shields. Jack stood in the center, still inside the command seat, his mind half human and half moon. He felt the heartbeat of the palace, the heat of the core, the pressure of distant enemy eyes. He was no longer guessing. The moon was alive, and it was listening to him. "They're not firing," Zephyra said, her voice tense. "They're waiting for something," Lunari added. "Or someone," Jack muttered. Vex, the screen shimmered. And the same cruel face returned Commander Vex. His silver armor glinted in the light of distant suns. "Well, Earth's blood still runs," he said coldly, "but how much of it are you willing to spill?" Jack narrowed his eyes. "You already spilled enough the last time." Vex leaned closer to the screen. "This moon doesn't belong to you." "It doesn't belong to you either," Jack replied. "It was never meant to be owned." Vex smiled darkly. "Wrong answer," with a wave of his hand. His fleet began to move. One by one, the Voidborn ships powered their weapons. Lights turned red, cannons aimed, and targeting systems locked onto the palace. Shields at 92%. Nixa shouted, "But they won't hold forever." "Firing sequence is ready," Zephyra said. "Just say the word." Lunari placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "The Moon House stands with you." Jack stood up, his voice steady. "Then we fight." The first blast hit the shield like thunder. The entire moon trembled, and the sky lit up in flames. Cannons from the moon palace answered, firing back with beams of pure light. One void-born ship exploded instantly, but 10 more took its place inside the control room. The daughters moved like one mind. Zephyra launched a wave of guided fire orbs, striking down an enemy wing. Nixa jammed incoming transmissions, stopping the enemy from coordinating. Lunari directed energy from the core itself, flooding the palace. Defenses with raw power, but the enemy kept coming. They swarmed like insects, fast and deadly. Jack felt the moon's energy thinning, the shield cracks widening. He needed more than strength. He needed legacy. He reached into the command seat, again connecting deeper than before. Ancient memories rushed into him, not his own, but Elias Tracer's, a hidden chamber. Forgotten during the last war, a backup course, small, unstable, but powerful. And one item stored inside it. The last bottle. Jack spoke aloud. Theirs. A secondary chamber in the western ridge. Nixa spun toward him. How do you know that? I saw it, Jack said. From him, the daughters didn't question it. Nixa jumped on a hoverboard and flew toward the ridge. Zephyra kept the towers firing, holding the sky with fire and thunder. Lunari helped Jack leave the command seat. His body weak from the overload, outside, explosions lit the sky like a storm. The palace shield flickered, then surged again, inside the hidden chamber. Nixa found it, a small silver box, sitting under dust and stone, sealed with Elias's mark. She opened it, and inside was a bottle. It looked like whiskey, but it wasn't. It glowed with golden fire, swirling inside like a star. A note was etched into the glass, for when hope runs dry. Nixa returned just as the palace doors shook from enemy missiles. Jack held the bottle in his hands. It was warm, alive, full of something old. Power, memory, light. Lady Thrala appeared beside him. That is the core of the old bond, she said. A gift left behind by your grandfather. If you drink it, you become more than just a tracer. You become the bridge between human and moon. Jack didn't hesitate. He uncorked the bottle and drank. The world turned white. His body glowed. His veins pulsed with stars. He rose into the air. No longer bound by gravity, the palace responded, growing brighter, faster, stronger. Cannons doubled in speed. Shields turned solid as steel. The moon itself rotated. Aiming new weapons, long-buried void-born ships began to fall. One after another, Commander Vex watched from his ship, eyes wide with rage. This can't be, he hissed. But it was. Jack Tracer had become the living heart of the moon, and the invasion was ending. The sky above the moon was quiet again. Fires had faded, and the smoke of battle drifted off into space. The void-born fleet had been destroyed, scattered like dust across the stars, and in the center of it all, glowing like the heart of a newborn, sun stood Jack Tracer. He floated above the moon palace, his body still shining from the final burst of the sacred bottle. Power flowed through him, not just from the drink, but from the ancient bond it awakened. The moon had accepted him completely. He was no longer just a human. He was something new. Something born of two worlds. Below, the three daughters looked up at him with awe and pride. Lunari, calm and wise, whispered, "He has become the bond itself." Zephyra wiped her eyes. He did what no one else could. Nixa laughed joyfully. "I married a moon god." Slowly, Jack floated down, his feet touching the palace floor again. The glow faded from his skin, and the golden fire inside him settled into silence. He stumbled slightly, and Lunari rushed forward to catch him. "You're still one of us," she said softly. "No matter what power lives inside you," Jack smiled weakly. "I thought it was over." Lady Thrala stepped forward from the shadows of the great hall. "It is over," she said, "but only this war. The story of your legacy is just beginning. The moon, once forgotten, now pulsed with renewed energy. Its systems awakened, its defenses rebuilt, its people hopeful. Alien nobles and families from hidden cities deep within the moon came forward. They bowed to Jack, not just as a hero, but as a rightful protector. Zephyra guided him to the throne room. The command seat had changed, now shined with symbols from both Earth and the Moon House. On one side, the mark of Elias Tracer, and, on the other, the crescent flame of the daughters. "This is your seat now," Zephyra said. "Yours and ours." Jack looked at the seat, then at them. "I didn't come here for any of this," he said. "I just wanted food, fuel, and maybe a little luck." Nixa winked. "You got 3 wives and a planet? Sounds like a good trade to me." They all laughed softly, the sound echoing through the crystal walls. Later that night, under the twin moons, the palace celebrated. Lights danced in the sky. Music from dozens of alien instruments filled the air. Food from every region of the moon was shared across endless tables. And at the center of it all stood Jack and his 3 wives, symbols of unity and strength. Lady Thrala made the final toast, lifting a glass filled with golden light, to "The one who traded a bottle for a bond," she said, "to the husband of 3 worlds." The crowd echoed her words, raising their cups. Jack looked at Lunari, Zephyra, and Nixa. Each of them had saved him in their own way. Each of them had believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. They weren't just wives, they were partners in the biggest story he never meant to write. After the feast, Jack stood alone at the edge of the palace terrace, stars stretched endlessly before him. He thought of Earth, of his broken ship still sitting in the hangar, of the whiskey bottle that started everything. A gentle voice broke the silence. "You miss your old life?" Lunari asked, stepping beside him. He shook his head. "I didn't have a life. Just empty space and noise." Zephyra joined them. "Now you have meaning." Nixa appeared next, grinning. "And 3 brilliant reasons to never leave." Jack turned to them, eyes full of warmth. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "The moon chose me, and I choose it back in the days that followed." The moon reopened its gates to the stars. Alliances were rebuilt, old wounds healed. The legend of the human husband of the Moon House spread far across galaxies. Ambassadors came to visit. Explorers wanted to learn. Warriors wanted to fight beside him. But none of them knew the full truth. Only Jack, Lunari, Zephyra, and Nixa knew what had truly happened beneath the palace. Only they understood what the moon had whispered in its sleep. That love, when freely given, could awaken worlds. That trust, even from a single bottle, could change fate itself. And so, the traitor who once walked the stars alone now ruled a home forged from peace and legacy. He didn't wear a crown. He didn't command with fear. He simply stood, each day, beside the ones who believed in him first. Jack Tracer, husband of 3 alien daughters, protector of the moon, son of Earth, and bridge between the stars.